It was quietly a really, really big week for HIMSS and HERS. The company introduced lab testing. This could really get the company into being more of like a subscription type business where you're paying the company between $200 and $500 per year for lab testing. Opens up a lot of potential new verticals, could be used in things like peptides. They bought a peptide facility earlier this year. So I think this is a huge move for the company. Now, the market obviously doesn't see it that way. You can see here that the stock is actually down 33% over the past month. Even just this week, shares have been down. They're down nearly 10%, made a little bit of a recovery later in the week. But I want to go through exactly why this is such a big deal for HIMSS and HERS. This is really playing out building a healthcare disruptor. And I think this is going to be the next leg in that. Kind of gets them a little bit closer to being closer to a primary care doctor. So that's really where we're going to see disruption, is that if this is the first place you go to find answers for your healthcare questions rather than making a doctor's appointment, that's huge news for investors. If they can get from 2 million subscribers to 10 million subscribers over the next 5 to 10 years, this is how this becomes a 10x stock, maybe even a 100x stock. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. If you want more from me, including all my research on companies like HIMSS and HERS, check out my newsletter, Asymmetric Investing. There's a link on the screen and a link in the show notes. I also want to thank this video sponsor, Fiscal AI. I'm going to show Fiscal AI throughout this video, but this is the best research tool that you have available. You can see here, it's got all the information you need for companies like HIMSS and HERS, all the ratios, market cap information. But what really differentiates Fiscal AI is all the information is all in one place. So you can make phenomenal charts like you see here with revenue growth and operating income. You can see the operating leverage right there for HIMSS and HERS. We can go to things like the transcript from the presentation this week announcing their lab product. You can even talk with artificial intelligence and ask questions. But the thing that I really love is their KPIs. You can see that right here. You can get all of the key information for every company. So for HIMSS and HERS, let's look at subscribers and average order value. You can see these long-term trends. This is where the growth comes in for a company like HIMSS and HERS, nearly 2.5 million subscribers. That average order value over time continues to go up. So if you're interested in trying out Fiscal AI, go to fiscal.ai/ASYM. I'll give you 2 weeks for free and then 15% off if you like what you see. Let's start with the announcement from HIMSS and HERS about their labs product, introducing labs, just a very simple name, but this is a holistic, in-depth testing experience that puts customers in control of their health and wellness journeys. These are not necessarily all that different from labs you may get if you go to a doctor. In fact, the testing clinics is being done by Quest Diagnostics. What's different about it is that you get all the information and it's all on the HIMSS and HERS app, or HIMSS app for men, HERS app for women. Now, there are a couple of different options. The first one, the base package is $199 per year. That's one test, and you get 50 biomarkers across 9 categories. The advanced version, $499 per year. You get 120 biomarkers across 10 categories. I'll go through what a few of those categories are in just a moment, but I think really the way to think about this is becoming more of a health information app. So this is going to bring a ton of information about people's individual health, what things could be treated. Are there different ways that you can treat that naturally? Maybe you need a prescription. Maybe that comes from HIMSS and HERS. Maybe it doesn't. But the theme is really democratizing a lot of healthcare. And that's what I'm taking away from this. I am actually going to get this testing done myself, so I will report back. But let's go to a few of the areas that they're going to be testing. You can see heart health, 9 biomarkers there, metabolism, 4 biomarkers. You got hormones, inflammation, thyroid, kidney, liver, immune defense, nutrition, nutrients, and blood. So you can get a lot of information about ways you can maybe live a little bit healthier. And ultimately, I think that's the real opportunity for HIMSS and HERS. If they're going to be advancing into more verticals, now remember, this is a company that started selling ED pills, but you have now ED, hair loss, weight loss. They recently got into testosterone. They're treating perimenopause and menopause. The next step that they're going to be launching, I think it's going to be early next year, is going to be longevity. These are the kind of tools, the kind of testing that you're going to need to treat those things a little bit more holistically. So giving the information that has long been locked in a doctor's office to consumers, democratizing healthcare. That's really the theme for HIMSS and HERS. And this is going to be another aggregation play. This is the power of HIMSS and HERS, is if they are the place that you go for healthcare treatments, guess what? All that supply has to start working with HIMSS and HERS. One of the big takeaways from their recent quarterly report is that Novo Nordisk is talking to them again. Remember, Novo Nordisk was the one that actually put out a press release that said some really terrible things about HIMSS and HERS operations, the way that they're compounding treatments. They pulled that partnership that they had earlier this year with HIMSS and HERS, but now they're coming back to the table because HIMSS and HERS has 2.5 million subscribers. Novo Nordisk no longer growing in weight loss. So how are you going to get back to growth? Are you going to lose those customers to other competitors that are working with HIMSS and HERS? No. And that's where the real power lies in all of these digital businesses. If you have the source of demand, that's where you get the 10x, 100x opportunities. But let's look at where we're going to actually see an impact from this new product, because this is where I think it's important to understand. Let's look at the quarterly numbers here. This will show a little bit of the trends. You can see the number of subscribers, actually growth has slowed a little bit over the past couple of quarters. That's because GLP-1s in 2024, late 2024 and early 2025 drove a lot of their growth. That has kind of subsided as the shortage there and still growing sequentially, but just keep in mind there is going to be a little bit of lumpiness. They've also backed away from some of the advertising that they're doing on the ED side. They've just found that that doesn't have quite the same return as some of these other things. So again, labs is going to be one of these areas, probably not as high a margin as other products, but if you're starting to build a long-term relationship with customers, if a customer is paying for labs, that's probably not something they're going to cancel after one treatment. That's probably something where you're going to have a multi-year relationship with them. That, I think, is ultimately where you're going to get higher LTV or long-term value. So that's where you're going to see these numbers from the average order value start to go up. If we look at the monthly online revenue per subscriber, this has been a little bit lumpy because, like I said, GLP-1s came off shortage. But if you're looking at the high-end subscription for these labs, that's nearly $50 a month. That's just for the labs. So I think this is going to be a really value accretive. The thing that I'm going to be watching in the future is how many people actually take this up. Is it going to be 1% of customers? That would be a good business, be about a $5 million revenue run rate for that business at the low end. Or is it going to be 10% of customers? Is this going to bring more customers into the ecosystem because you're going to be offering more things, more solutions? That's what I think we're ultimately going to see with HIMSS and HERS. I would like to see this subscriber number continue to rise. That's what I'm going to be watching in the near future. And then also, does this average order value start to increase? Because someone like myself paying for labs, maybe that leads to other treatments. Maybe that leads to other ways that HIMSS and HERS can help in a holistic sense. Remember, HIMSS and HERS is trying to aggregate demand. So the more services that you're offering to your customers, the more value you can offer to your customers, the stickier that business is going to be, even if it's cheaper than going to a doctor. And that's the real differentiation. This is still a digital company. So it's cheaper to service customers and service customers at scale than it is for any individual doctor, any individual healthcare system. So I think this really could drive the next leg of growth for HIMSS and HERS. It is going to take a little while to get off the ground. But I expect this to add more verticals, more revenue per subscriber, and even more subscribers to the ecosystem. So we'll see how this plays out. A lot to learn in the fourth quarter. But given the recent drop in the stock, this is definitely one of the buying opportunities I'm looking at right now. But let me know what you think about HIMSS and HERS. And if you want more from me, like I said, check out my newsletter, Asymmetric Investing. Link on the screen, any link in the show notes if you want more from me there. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.